Yo, what up, everybody? This is Mark from Suicide Silence.
And this is Brian Fair from Shadows Fall.
This is Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia Murder here.
Yo, this is Gary Hall from Exodus and recently retired from Slayer, and
Hello, this is Becky Boulder from Hamburg Rebel and Fury.
Hey, this is Charlie with Anthrax. I just want to give a shout out to Pedal to the Metal Radio, the podcast.
The podcast to get all your rock and metal news plus reviews.
Keep it metal. Pedal to the Metal Radio, motherfuckers!
All right, welcome everybody to another exciting edition of Pedal to the Metal Radio, the podcast. I'm your main man, Eddie Monster here. Welcome to episode 185. That's right, 185. Crazy. If you're just joining us for the first time, like I said, this is Pedal to the Metal Radio, the podcast. This is the podcast where I talk rock and heavy metal news. I also do a segment at the end called Unsigned Band of the Week, so you're going to want to tune in for that, right? Because I basically give the floor to an unsigned band from anywhere around the country and basically anywhere around the world as well. It's pretty fun. I've been loving that segment for such a long time. So we got that. And like I said, we talk rock and metal news, and that is one of the segments we also have. We got a lot to talk about on today's episode. Lots and lots of stuff. We've got special announcements, right, that broke the day this podcast was being recorded that we're going to put on the screen for all of you. So hopefully you're ready for this ride. As always, the first part of the segment of this podcast, I always like to vent a little bit. And, you know, some people would think venting about Ozzy is a bad thing, but it's not, because venting about Ozzy keeps him in the spirits, keeps his spirit alive for sure. It always keeps us remembering him. Number one, okay, one of the things I was so happy about, and I was worried about it a little bit going into it, but obviously the MTV VMAs were this past week, and I would believe me, just like you right now, I'm like, VMAs, they still do that shit? Yeah, they still do, apparently. But it was announced that they were going to do a special segment where they were going to pay tribute to Ozzy. Now, obviously, people looked at it like this could go either one or two ways. It could be really tacky and just, you know what I mean? Or it could go off brilliant and look great and all those things. But at the end of the day, you're always going to have critics. That's one of the things. Some people are going to love it. Some are going to hate it. Just ask Stan Hawkins of The Darkness. He hated it. But I, on the other hand, actually really liked it. We saw Youngblood. We saw Nuno Betancourt, which fucking Nuno, dude. He's the man. We saw Nuno. I don't know who any of the other players were, and my apologies to whoever the bassist, the drummer at the time were. But obviously we had Youngblood, Nuno. They started with Crazy Train. That's the first track they started doing. I believe they then went into Changes, which is now a Youngblood staple of his live shows. And then Steven Tyler and Joe Perry reunited on stage for the first time, thanks to Ozzy. They're reunited on stage for the first time in a while. They came out with Youngblood, and they did a version of No More Tears, unlike any other. That's a little bit of where my criticism would have been, was basically what was Joe Perry playing as far as the solo. But whatever, we're there to celebrate Ozzy, and it was beautiful. I love the beginning. They had Jack. God bless Jack. You know what I mean? We're going to be bringing him up in just a moment again. But Jack and Kelly, I've got to commend them, first of all. They've done a fantastic job. They've risen to protect their father's legacy, and I have to admire that. It's excellent. So Jack and his family basically were in the beginning of that video, and they did this cool thing where they talked about him a little bit, and they all did the "Let's Go Crazy," which was cute. It was cute. And then they did a little video segment of Ozzy, which was great. And then it went right into the performance. So MTV, you really did well this time, or I should say CBS. You did Paramount. You did really well this time. I don't know if it aired on MTV. I know it aired on CBS and Paramount Plus. So I'm assuming Viacom, I assume it did. But it was cool. It was cool. Definitely, Ozzy was a giant of the 80s during MTV's heyday of when they showed music videos and things of that nature. So it was good to see, as always. One of the other things I want to talk about now, there's always an asshole that when something tragic happens or something happens, there's always that one asshole that just has to speak out. He just feels left out, feels his legacy isn't as cemented as Ozzy's was, right? We're all David Gilmour fans anyways. But Roger Waters just had to come out, and Roger Waters just had to spew what he had to spew. And like Jack said, he said, my father always thought you were a see you next Tuesday, right? And he was right. That's what Jack said. He always thought you were a see you next Tuesday, and he was right. What else can we say? Like, dude, why? To Roger Waters, I ask, why? What is the point of saying what you said? Are you that pissed that we're all not going to be as sad for you as we were him? That literally we felt the earth stopped because Ozzy passed away, and we're not going to feel the same way about you? Right? And like, don't get me wrong, dude. Like, Pink Floyd, obviously legendary beyond belief, right? All the stoners and everybody that tripped their balls on shrooms and everything. They love you guys, right? Legendary. Oh, man, you've never seen The Wall unless you were tripping your balls off. Oh, man, like, have you ever put Dark Side of the Moon on at the same time as The Wizard of Oz, dude? Like, and I'm not taking any, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not the biggest Pink Floyd fan, right? If you ask me Pink Floyd, I know 3 albums. Wish You Were Here, Dark Side of the Moon, and The Wall. Literally, I'm probably be considered a poser Pink Floyd fan, because there's guys that are into metal, whatever that album's called, and Animals, Pipers at the Gates of Dawn, whatever the hell the name of those albums are. But this is not what it's about, because you don't see any of the other members of Pink Floyd saying anything, especially David Gilmour. Class act, okay? He's not looking for attention in the media. So what do? You harp on the biggest story that there is just because you need to feel involved somehow? Fuck off, man. That's what I say. Anyways, it's about as much time as I want to spend on Roger Waters. Fuck him. That's what I say. All right, we got a great show for you guys. We're going to pause for a minute. We got a commercial that we're going to play. It's for the block party. Check it out, especially if you live in the southeast Massachusetts, I say southern New England, northern Rhode Island area. You're going to want to check this out. Yours truly will be there. That's right. If you want to meet Pedal to the Metal's Eddie Monster, you can come on down to the block party. But when we come back, rock and metal news time.
Oh, hey Attleboro, didn't see you there. It's me, Rob Pierce from the Union Theater. I'm here to tell you about our second annual block party happening September 28th. We got a killer lineup of bands, we got a bunch of local vendors, and we got a kids' town for you little ones. We're also doing a door prize for this sweet guitar. Let me give it a little test drive for you. Ooh, I'm a little teapot. Oh, so short and stout. Eddie, no!
Yeah, have fun, don't hurt each other, and screw politics, okay? And you'll be alright. Believe in rock and roll, that is the only religion that never lets you down.
It's time for Rock and Metal News, presented by Eddie Monster.
All right, rock and metal news time. Wait a minute. What the hell's going on? Wait a minute, what? that wasn't weird after all. Twisted Sister has announced that they are reuniting. It's big news. In 2026, the band is going to celebrate their 50th anniversary. It's fucking awesome. Dee Snider says, if you're lucky enough to be in a band that people still want to see after 50 years, you have to answer their call. In 26, Twisted fucking Sister will hit stages across the world because we still want to rock. And I still want to rock with them. I'm fucking excited as all can be for Twisted Sister. They're one of the few 80s bands that I got to knock off that list before they stop touring. You know what I mean? I've seen so many. I mean, the list is huge. Unfortunately, I never got to see Quiet Riot or Warrant with Janie Lane, but still time. The lineup for this features a couple new members, but of course it's Dee Snider, guitarist JJ French, Eddie Ojeda. Then you've got Joe Seven Franco on drums. He's new. And then Russell, if I'm saying this right, Russell Pizzuto on bass. Those are the new members of Twisted Sister. So congratulations to the band. A lot of big things are going to be happening in 2026, it seems, with the music scene. So yours truly is super, super excited for it and super, super ready as well. In some sad news, Baroness's founding drummer, Alan Blickel, has passed away at the age of 42. The world found out about it through an Instagram post by, I believe the band is called Kalisa. That's what I'm going to go with. Kalisa, vocalist, guitarist, Laura Pleasance, who basically just, went on to say how he was battling something and he had lost his life. Nobody knows what it was he exactly passed away from, but according to her, it had to have been something pretty bad for him to have been going through a long battle. So my condolences to all the friends, family of Alan Blickel on this. Always sad to see somebody lose their life at such a young age, too. Very unfortunate. Also, another sad news, Sodom also announced on their Facebook page the passing of Guido Richter, a.k.a. Atomic Stiff, or Stife, I don't know. And he's also from unknown reasons. We don't really know why. We don't know much. But he was Sodom's drummer from 1993 to 1995. So my condolences to his friends and family as well. And other exciting news, this is huge. Only because I'm super excited about half of this lineup, right? To see this lineup finally, half of this lineup finally working. Tesla's Brian Wheat and Tommy Sciacca have reunited for the first time on record in over 20-something years. I don't know. We all know Tommy battled substance abuse problems. He was booted out of Tesla. But never fear, because this does not mean that Brian Wheat is done with Tesla at all. This is just another project that he's doing. The band is called Terminal, and here is where it gets awesome, right? Because it features two musicians that I love so much. W.A.S.P's Chris Holmes, fuck yeah, on guitar for the band Terminal, as well as obviously Tommy. And then on vocals, Saliva's Josie Scott. How fucking awesome is that going to be? I'm super excited to hear the material that Terminal has to offer. I'm just trying to rack my brain as to how and what is this going to sound like when we finally get to hear it. Tommy was always, a lot of people have said this, that Tommy was always the guy in Tesla that gave them that metal kind of edge to Tesla, the more harder edge of the rock before, anything else. So it'll be cool to see what they got to offer. I'm number one in line. I'm telling you right now, you sold me at Chris Holmes and Josie Scott. I'm in completely. So let's get this going. Come on. I'm super excited. If you can't tell anyways, I don't know. Maybe the excitement on my face doesn't really tell. I got resting bitch face sometimes. It happens. Apparently, there's going to be a new series on Hulu as well that's coming up that I'm super, super excited about. It's called Into the Void. Let's watch this together. That's right. I got the video right here, as you can see. Kind of
Sabbath. This music, it was something special. I want to be part of this.
But you don't know how ugly this business can be. Things got really, really crazy.
Heavy metal
I mean,
was under attack.
Here's the thing. So right now, it looks a lot like a lot of the things that we've seen before in the past. I'm hoping that when you actually watch the series, because it's an 8-part series, so hopefully this is just to get you hooked and to want to watch. But, I mean, there's been plenty of talk about, you know, Randy and you know, what we've seen. Dime's going to be a new one. That's going to be new.
Good versus evil. Hidden messages. Satanic panic. We gotta defend our children.
Yeah, I mean, same old topics as always. Discover the stories. Judas Priest, the kid committed suicide.
Change history. Freedom of speech, man. Kurt had killed.
This is what I'm interested in.
I was like, what? Just no way.
Like, who is that?
Vinny called and said, I just saw my brother get shot.
That as well, because we've...
got murdered. It's crushing.
I mean, we know plenty about it.
Guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne's band has been killed in a fiery
Yeah,
plane
Randy.
crash.
Randy was a gift from God. He pulled the best out of Ozzy.
He was the first guy that came into my life and gave me hope.
So, I mean, this looks cool. I mean, obviously they're going to explore Wendy O. Williams, as you can see. You know, Pantera, Chuck Schindler. This is going to be good.
Personality, that's what comes through. You can always resonate with going from tragedy to triumph.
Music is something that doesn't die. After we've gone, it will live on.
All right, I'm in. I mean, who else? What else are we going to do, right? I mean, I'm preparing for the Halloween season, so that's going to be a busy, busy season for yours truly. But you know what? For 5 minutes or less, I'll binge watch all 8 episodes. I did that with the, Nothing But a Good Time, the one that was all about the 80s. So, hey, why not? Let's get into this, right? So, there you go. Into the Void. You know, I'll definitely be watching that for sure. This next story is an interesting one to me. I always like knowing, like, who competed against who for, you know, the position. Obviously, the first time when Randy passed away, we all know that George Lynch was supposed to be the guitar player in Ozzy Osbourne. That's, you know, that's not really breaking news or anything, but we know that Jake Ely eventually got the job. Well, later on, it's who competed against Zach, right? Was Zach always the choice? Well, apparently there was somebody who was actually the number one choice at first before they ultimately landed Zach, and that's Jimi Bell. You may remember Jimi Bell from bands like Autograph and House of Lords. He was also in Jungle Rot, which blows my mind too on that end. But Jimi Bell has been recently in the news, obviously, after Ozzy's passing. A lot of things are coming out, who competed against who, you know, what was involved in this, what song this and that. Apparently, there was one point that Jimmy was supposed to be involved with the members of Black Sabbath, right? And let's get to his first part of his statement here, because he talks about it. Even after the Ozzy gig didn't happen, Sharon still believed in me. That belief led directly to Geezer and what became a whole new chapter in my career. Geezer wanted to explore more melodic sound than Sabbath, but still heavy. We had an amazing lineup. Carl Sentence on vocals, now in Nazareth. Jez Woodruff from Robert Plant's band on keys, and Gary Ferguson on drums. His resume is unreal. He would go on to talk about maybe it just didn't work out or whatever, but eventually he got a phone call about a certain song of his that he had written with Geezer that would end up on a Sabbath record, because apparently he didn't get any credit for it because it was a rumor Tony Iommi didn't want somebody like another guitar player's track on his album. Here's the next part of that statement. In 91, I got a call from Geezer's wife, Gloria. She told me Sabbath was reuniting with Ronnie James Dio and wanted to use Master of Insanity on the new album. I was thrilled until I found out I wouldn't get any songwriting credit. Tony Iommi apparently didn't want a song by another guitarist on a Sabbath record. Geezer did thank me in the liner notes, and he promised me payment after the tour. I never saw the money, but hearing Dio perform a song I wrote was unforgettable. Ronnie even mentioned our collaboration in his book, and Geezer wrote about it in his autobiography, so I've made peace with it. I honestly think that project would have been pretty cool to check out, too, especially if it had happened. Oh, well, that's history. And I mean, at least Jimmy can kind of let go of it at this point. It takes a strong-willed man to kind of say, you know what, it's okay. All right, we're on the new releases here. According to Clint Lowry, Seven Dust is working on new material for an album he believes will be released in 2026. The band is doing pre-production with Michael Elvis Basquette. And that's cool news. Obviously, super excited for new Seven Dust as always. In other news, sometimes people wouldn't associate alt metal with horror, but I always say, why not, right? Horror and alternative music and metal have always kind of gone hand in hand, and Life of Agony's Alan Roberts did the same as he created the Conjuring coloring book. That's right. It's a book where you'll be able to color yourself iconic images from the movies and stuff in those coloring books. They're out everywhere. It's going to be released on March 26, 2026, so make sure you check that out. Primitive Man have announced their new release, Observance, which is due out October 31st via Relapse Records. And they have a new single out called Social Contract. It's out right now. Make sure you go and you check that out. Cold Steel have announced that their debut album, No Escape, will be out November 7th via Spine Farm, and they have released the title track as the first single from the album. The album is produced by Off the Risk, who produced such bands as Power Trip and Cavalera and so much more. I definitely look forward to hearing what this band has to offer. This one is always an interesting one. I tend to avoid bands that I'm going to have trouble pronouncing their name, although they're fucking having fun with all of us struggling to say this. So here we go. Sanguisugabogg. Sanguisugabogg is what I'm going to say. Sanguisugabogg. Their third album, Hideous Aftermath, comes out October 10th, but the band has unveiled their latest single, Repulsive Demise, which sounds very Godflesh-like. So if you're into it, definitely check that out. Sanguisugabogg is a band. You know what? I almost want to do a 5 minutes or less on this because I want to torture myself on how I'm going to pronounce this band's name throughout. And I'm going to change it, obviously, Sanguisugabogg. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're doing it right now. So there are a lot of people that have been waiting on new music from Bring Me the Horizon. I, for one, am always looking forward to new music. But the band is kind of putting it to a halt, so to say. Obviously, Ollie Sykes, the singer from Bring Me the Horizon, just welcomed in twins, which is an exciting time for him. And he wants to make sure he gets family time. But he did have this. Apparently, there is leftover material from Next Gen. There's about 12 tracks that the band had, and they wanted to release these two singles, but ultimately that didn't happen. Let's hear what Ollie had to say himself in a statement. He says, I wanted new music out this year. I've got so much from the Next Gen archive that I want the world to hear. I literally phoned my label and management and said, it's nearly here. I've got 12 songs, and they're all bangers. They're so close. We're going to get the first single out before Rock'em Ring and the second before Reading and Leeds. The music will come, but it's just not the be-all and end-all. We're realizing that we don't have to put out another record. We just put one out. Most bands would go away for 2 years, have an actual break. You don't have to do this, but I want to, and I enjoy it. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. Sykes has gone on record really saying that, you know, right now family is very, very important to him, and he wants to make sure that's taken care of before Bring Me the Horizon does anything else. And quite, you know, I understand the band's been around for such a long time. you sort of by yourself that time with all the experience. And like I said, they just came out with an album. Enjoy it. Next Gen. Now we're moving over to touring news, and Imperial Triumphant is going to headline the Jazz from Hell Festival in New York City on December 12th with the Gold Star Metropole Orchestra. That's right. Steve Blanco says this: Imperial Triumphant drags the city's underbelly into La Poisson Rouge for Jazz from Hell. Didn't know I could do that, did you? La Poisson Rouge. Horns ablaze, brass dripping in decadence, and a golden chaos where dissonance swings and the city troubles. This is Jazz from Hell, dressed in gold and filth. I am a huge Imperial Triumphant fan. I need to see this band live. I really do. I just love the chaoticness of their music, that avant-garde side to them, and the limits they test. Very, very cool. I wish I could go to this. You never know. I might. In other great news, Beyond the Gates will happen in 2026 in Bergen, Norway, but this is going to be one for the ages that you're not going to want to miss. And I swear you're not going to want to miss this, especially if you're a fan of the band Emperor. You're definitely not going to want to miss it, because Faust and Mortis will be sharing the stage once again with Emperor at the iconic, I believe it's called the Gregenhallen stage, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's happening July 29th through August 1st, and will also feature bands like 1349, Misotheist, and Spectral Wound, and so many more. So make sure you go, and if you want to travel to Norway to see an epic performance like that, that could be on my list for next year. We'll see. 200 Stab Wounds, Ingrown, No Cure, and more hit the road this fall as the tour starts October 10th in Detroit. It makes its way around the country and ends November 15th in Grand Rapids, Michigan. All right, that is going to do it for rock and metal news. That's right. It is now time for one of my most favorite segments in the whole entire world. Of course, I'm talking about it's time for the Unsigned Band of the Week. But before we get into that, I just want to thank all of you once again for tuning into the show. If you can, give us a follow, a like, wherever it may be on all the social media sites, which will be in the description below. Make sure if you're on YouTube and you're watching this on YouTube, you subscribe to the channel. Every subscription is greatly appreciated. If you're checking us out on Spotify, Apple Music, podcasts, wherever, Amazon, iHeartRadio, wherever it may be, make sure you also follow us on those. Leave us some cool 5-star reviews to help us out. We've got a special one for you guys this week on the Unsigned Band of the Week. That's right. Born in the hills of Hollywood, but refined in Minneapolis. I am, of course, talking about Ghostmade Cellophane. They're an awesome group that I'm so excited to play on the show. They are an ambient mix of heavy and clean, which is very reminiscent of one of my favorite bands, the Deftones and Loathe, and I guarantee you guys are going to love them. Make sure you check them out on all the social media sites they're on, whatever sites they may be on. Make sure you're following all those. Make sure you follow everybody that gets played on this show. It's very important, as I say every week, I say this, to support unsigned bands, support your local scene, wherever it may be. So if you're in Minneapolis or if you're in Hollywood, make sure you support the scenes there. If you're out here on the East Coast like I am, make sure you're supporting your scenes there, because it has to start somewhere. It has to start somehow. What better place than here on this show? And what better time than now that you're checking this out? So, without further ado, this is Ghostmade Cellophane, and this is their track Convulsions, right here on Pedal to the Metal Radio, the podcast. Please, be good to each other and stay metal, and I'll see you next time.